Department of Labor, they're not, you can't go back and sue them or anything. So the Family Medical Leave Act has been in place since 1993. It's been put there, so the Department of Labor felt that they of course wanted to balance work and family, a work-life balance. And so workers do not have to choose between the job they need and the family members they love and who need their care. I guess basically, I'm going really fast through this so you guys can get through and get to the important stuff, so if you want. So this is, the Family Medical Leave Act is there if you're unable to work because of your own serious health conditions or because you need to care for your parent, spouse, or a child with a serious health condition. It gives you 12 weeks of unpaid leave. I know that a lot of people thought it was 12 weeks of paid leave. It is not paid. Unpaid leave. Want everyone to hear that. And it's it's in a 12-month period. So you get 12 weeks in a 12-month period. We'll go through that a little bit more. In order to use FMLA, you have to be an employer of 50 or more people, a public agency, or a public and private school system. And finally, we hit 50 or more people. The other part to use FMLA is you have to work at least 12 months with the company. It does not have to be consistent. So some people maybe work seasonally or whatever with us. We have people that come back during when they're off of school and stuff. So it doesn't have to be all together, but it has to be at least 12 months. You have to have at least 1,250 hours of service during the 12 months before leave begins. And then again, the 50 employees within 75 miles, which works for us. So these are the reasons that you can take it: for the birth of a child or the placement if you do adoption or foster home. Not the shift staff foster home, so none of you get that. To care for a spouse, son, daughter, or parent with a serious health condition, or for your own. And again, military family leave, that is another whole thing. You get more time, there's more specific reasons. How do I say it? They actually, it's easier probably to get claimed family medical leave under the military, but yeah, we won't go into that, but if you need it, let me know. A parent then is you are the biological, adoptive, step, or foster parent, or you stood in place, you raised the child, basically, is what local parentis means. It does not include in-laws, so you can't take family medical leave for your father or mother-in-law. A spouse is your husband or wife. Also, same-sex marriage or common law marriage is recognized in the state. And I don't even know what Wisconsin, I should know that, but. And then son or daughter is your biological, adopted, or foster child, stepchild, legal ward, so. And they have to be, the local parentis, again, under 18, or they have to have a physical, mental, developmental disability and need continued care over 18. This just goes in again, stating that both the mom and the dad, mother and father, are allowed to take FMLA leave. You can, for pregnancy, take it before the actual birth, placement, or adoption. And for having children, it has to be taken within the first year of birth or placement in your home. So you can't come along when the child is, well, different cases, but you can't say, I'm taking it because my baby's here, when they're like 2 or 3.
Tammy, when you said you can take your son or daughter doesn't have to be under 18 to be able to take it, right? I mean, if they would, like if my son was 30 and he had cancer.
Right, then that's a family member, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So these are like different things in the Department of Labor. I tried to simplify the slides. They broke them down into all kinds of typical situations of when you might need family medical leave. Again, for your spouse, your child, or a parent who has serious health conditions, or yourself. So it might be if someone's in an overnight stay in a hospital, hospice, or residential medical facility. We're going to come back to some of these, but conditions that incapacitate you or a family member for more than 3 days. chronic conditions, and pregnancy to include prenatal medical appointments and incapacity due to morning sickness. Be off, definitely. We'll come back, I'm gonna come back to these because they are broken down. So incapacity of more than 3 consecutive full calendar days that involves either, this is where it gets wordy, treatment 2 times by a healthcare provider, the first one in person within 7 days, and then both visits within 30 days. And the reasons they get so wordy is because sometimes people think it's FMLA and it's really not, and we'll get into determining that and the designation of it. But this is when, if you're off for more than 3 days, if you're off for 3 days of work, and you're falling into one of these, certainly that either your supervisor know or reach out to me, because we can maybe count those days as FMLA leave. Another time is treatment 1 time by a healthcare provider in person within 7 days, followed by continuing treatment. So I say you were attacked by a dog and you saw the vet, but then you, or the doctor, you saw the doctor, but then you need to go, 3 weeks later to get your stitches out and things like that. So it's like ongoing medical treatment. Chronic conditions is defined, it requires periodic visits such as twice per year to a healthcare provider. It continues over an extended period of time. It's not acute, it just doesn't happen once and done, it continues on. Or may cause episodic rather than continuing periods of incapacity. Some of that might be like mental health needs, you just end up not being able to work, it's episodic, something triggers it, and then you're back fine, weeks later, a month later. If you had surgery after an accident, or any conditions that if left untreated would likely result in incapacity of more than 3 consecutive full calendar days. So, lots of reasons you can be off with FMLA leave, is what all this is. Any questions so far? I went through that really fast.
So, like, last week, I used some PTO because I couldn't make it to 40 because my son had multiple appointments in the week. Would I have to use PTO, but it was only like 4 hours I needed? How would you use FMLA for, like, you know what I mean?
Yes, you would have, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how much PTO you have, but we'll get to that and then maybe see if it answers your question. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if, sometimes people get sick and the doctor might say, okay, you need the next 5 days off. That's not considered FMLA, is it?
It would be,
It would be?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it protects, it gives you all time, and it also protects the employer too. So you get up to 12 weeks of a guarantee you can come back to the job that you have. We can't, during those 5 days, if you were off without FMLA, we could be like, oh, well, Vera took off 3 months ago and now she's taking off again. It's like, we can't, we're done. We're not doing that. Now it's protected, so you're protected with that. So that's the biggest reason why there's FMLA leave is so that you, and there's gonna be a slide for that, you can come back reinstated into the job that you have and you don't lose any rights, privileges, whatever you had of that position, to include your insurance, and we'll get to that. The employee's work week is the entitlement. So when we say leave, if you are like normally a 40-hour-a-week person, then you are entitled to 40 hours of FMLA per week, or 480 hours in a 12-month period. But if you normally work 30 hours a week, you're entitled to 30 hours, or I think you get that. For people who are very variable, we do keep a spreadsheet, but it is based off of the average hours worked, and we have that on everybody here. We maintain that spreadsheet in payroll. So that's how it's determined. Does that make sense to everyone? So not everyone doesn't get 40 hours if you're not a 40-hour employee. Again, why you can take off. It can be intermittent or reduced. So can't say maybe, I'm just making up stuff, but say you had knee surgery, and you know that the morning's really good for you, but maybe the afternoon is like, it's just too much, I need to lay down, I need to rest. You can do intermittent, so you could come back and say, I can work 8 to noon, and then still use FMLA for the rest of your shift. Does that make sense? The amount of leave, by law, we have to use the shortest increment that an employer uses to count for time. So with us, as I think most of you are all aware, we do everything by 0.25. So the shortest amount of FMLA leave you could use is 0.25. So I guess if you wanted to work 7.75 hours and take 0.25, but that's the shortest. Again, you can take it as a single block of time or in multiple smaller blocks. There's 4 methods to determine the 12 weeks in a 12-month. They're there. What we're doing is the last one, the rolling 12-month period measured backwards. Since this is brand new to us, it basically starts the same way, but how it works is, say if you went out in October, then you have another, it's all measured, so basically you have October to the following October. And then we keep looking at it to make sure you haven't used 12 weeks in a year. And so, does that make sense? So then, say you had one leave, October through December, that was all you used. Come the following November, you ask for FMLA again, then we look back and you would be covered. It's a whole formula. Never mind, just ask me when you But that's just, we have to declare. So ACC is doing the rolling 12-month period measured backwards. This gets into the PTO, so this is where I wasn't sure about your question. What we do, or you can do, is, or we do, is if employees have more than 24 hours of accrued pay time off, we're going to require you to use that PTO while on FMLA leave. All these words. Once you get down to 24 hours, the substitution of paid time for unpaid FMLA is optional. What this is saying in layman's terms is what we wanted everyone to have the ability is to save possibly 3 days. Say you went out for the birth of your child and, you know, kids get sick after you come back to work and you might need a day here or there off with them. So you have the option of once you get down to 24 hours, if you want to just not use those and they sit there until you come back from FMLA leave. But if you are out there with 66 hours, ACC is making you use 66 minus 24 is 22 hours of PTO. And then if you want to use the last 24 and just be paid out all your PTO accrued, that's up to you. Clear as mud? So that's why I didn't know what
Yeah,
your
I'm
PTO
under
is.
24 hours.
Okay,
So, like, bi-weekly now, he has to do physical therapy.
Yeah,
I could be using FMLA instead of using my PTO to go to those appointments?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. The last one is saying you will accrue paid time off when you're using PTO. So this is always convoluted, but when you use PTO, so when you're using it, it's still technically considered time work, so you do accrue more time then. That just gets a little funny. The other kind of unpaid leave or absence with worker comp or other disability, I would say this one. Okay, so some people too think that, well, I have short-term disability, so I don't have to use my FMLA or claim it as FMLA. But it is, FMLA is the leave. It guarantees that you are able to be off, that ACC cannot terminate you, get rid of your position, move you around on your leave. But short-term disability or workers' comp, we don't have too many people out on that, is an income supplement. So they can run concurrently. So if you're, say, out on maternity leave, on short-term disability, that will be part of your FMLA. But the short-term disability is income protection. FMLA is like job protection. Does that make sense? Okay. Group health plans. So for insurance, when you're taking, extended FMLA leave, the only thing the employer has to guarantee is that your group health, our insurance, United Healthcare is who we have, is protected. All other insurances the employee is paying those. You can let those lapse. I'll come back to that a little bit. We're not responsible to maintain that on your FMLA leave. The only one that we have to try to sustain while you're on leave is the group health insurance. But we don't just pay for that while you're gone. There's a letter that is created out of Human Resources. It talks about the payback plan for what you owe back to the company. There's a whole process that should you choose not to pay it back, there's other letters that come out because you basically have sort of 45 days afterwards if you choose not to. So you can choose not to pay your health care premiums if you choose not to. When you come back, we have to reinstate you. So say you are dropped from health care or from the United Healthcare, we have to reinstate you back onto that insurance. If you choose not to pay any of your insurances, say you have short-term disability, long-term disability, any of those, and you choose to not pay them and they get dropped, we don't reinstate those. Those will not be reinstated until the following open enrollment. Also, just so you know, for short-term and long-term, you would have to go through underwriting again if you should choose to let it lapse. So when you go out on extended FMLA leave, there will be a letter created. We'll talk to you about what is owed, but we just have to let you know, for the health insurance, you can choose not to pay it and we have to reinstate you. All the other ones would be lost, or you have to apply when it's open enrollment again. Is that making sense? So for the employee, what ideally we need for FMLA is if you have 30 days advance notice, that would be great. But we get it that things happen, you get sick, someone in your family gets sick. As soon as, the word is practicable, I can't say it, please let, ideally me know, but if you don't have my information, at least let your supervisor know and they can let me know. And we'll get the paperwork started for you. Things that we might have to ask is why you can't do the job, or the day-to-day activities, the need for hospitalization, circumstances. Just the bottom one is, if you're taking a leave, say you were off in October, you ask for another leave in January and it's for the same reason, knee again. Your knee's just hurting, you're feeling like you can't work, that's what that bottom one means. It's just basically the same leave. It's not different. It's not like you took off for your knee, and now you're taking off for your hip. I know my body parts well. We may ask for, what, as an employer, we have the right to do is ask for medical certification. If requested, we'll give you the form. The certification supports the need for leave. We can then get status reports on that. The fitness for duty certification, I doubt that we would ever do that, but that's out there in case we don't think you're ready to come back to work. We may ask for a return form. If we ask for that medical certification, it needs to be submitted within 15 calendar days. Must identify the deficiency, all this stuff. The reason this gets there is just to cover ourselves as well as if you're not complying with it, we don't have to approve FMLA leave. So, but hopefully all the documentation is being done. I'm just letting you guys know this, and it's written in here, and we will walk you through anybody who has a situation. So, I don't know if we would have too many, unless it just appears to maybe be an abuse of FMLA and just leave, that we would ask for that. This is more on the certification. Again, if we ever, you get the certification, we still don't believe you, we say we want a second opinion, that's at the employer's cost. I don't think it would ever go there. Recertification, we can ask for, we think you should be back at work. We can ask for you to recertify, go back to your doctor, and your doctor says, no, they can't be, things like that. We could do that. again, if you don't provide it, we can not recognize FMLA until we receive it. Just you have to return. Oh, the other thing is intent to return to work. For a lot of situations, maybe you're having surgery or something, you may know when you can come back to work or anticipate. If that changes, you just need to let us know that for sure. Please let us know that, that's a big one. If your return to work date is changing. We'll go through these. So, you're going to let your supervisor know, or myself, that you are going out on leave that you believe is FMLA. Within 5 days of me recognizing that, we will do it's called a notice of eligibility. And so on that, I will review if you've had previous FMLA leave, any reasons that I might think I need it certified or reviewed, reasons if I don't think you're eligible for FMLA leave. And we will be doing it in writing, and it will be this WH 381 form, so we won't be doing anything orally, because that's just messy. We want everything in writing. These are just all the things that the forms provide for you. It's just a big form. I'm sorry, this is the rights and responsibilities. It goes along with the same other form. So it basically is a 2-page form. It'll tell you that you're approved for FMLA leave. It has the beginning and end dates. It says the rights. It talks about the insurance. Then a notice of designation. On this, it gets a little more particular about the use of PTO and how that's broken down on this form. It's a 382. And yeah. So you'll get lots of forms when you go on FMLA leave. We will tell you the amount of leave counted against your entitlement. So you may ask for 12 weeks, but if it follows that you can't have 12 weeks because you've already used it, we'll let you know that you can only be approved for 8 weeks for this leave or whatever. So that's what that means. Yeah. This is again about the healthcare insurance, that we have to maintain that. Restore it if you should choose not to pay your premiums, but you come back to work, then we have to put you back at the same insurance. We put this in here, employee may be required to repay the employer's share of the premium if the employee does not return to work after leave. I don't know if we'll do that, we haven't. So, as being an employer, we cannot interfere with, restrain, or deny your FMLA rights. We cannot discriminate or retaliate against anybody. So basically, if you're out on leave, we can't be like, well, fine, they're gone, and we're going to put them in a lower position, or we're not going to do this or that for them. We can't do any of that. We cannot discharge you or discriminate any other way while you're on leave. And it can't be counted as a negative factor in employment actions. So basically, if you're on leave, we can't count it against you. We can't retaliate against you or discriminate against you. And then just basic things that are kept track of is payroll, obviously. Dates that leave is taken, the hours, particularly if it's less than 1 full day, we track all those hours on the spreadsheet. All the leave notices, documents describing anything extra, premium payments, and if you had any disputes with the way we handled it or the way it's been used, those would be in your file too for FMLA leave. These are in your thing, just if you're really interested in more information, just need to sleep tonight. Just there. Yay! I suck at presentations, so. But, yeah, is there any other questions, or, this is brand new, so the whole 12-month period is a little confusing, but it's like if you're taking blocks, then that's where it gets. Anything?
So say my daughter is homesick with the flu, is that FMLA?
No.
Or it has to be 3 consecutive days?
Yeah,
So what if it's a super contagious and she's gotta stay home from school for a No, I just, yeah.
I would, like I said, if it's 3 days or 3 or more days, then yeah, definitely reach out to your supervisor or me and let me know. It can be, I think this is Mark's smiling at me because he also knows HR. The HR person in me would say yes for any of all of those situations because again, it protects you. We can't discriminate against you. We can't say, well, Katie was out these 3 days and then a month later her kid's sick again. Oh, sure she is, and now she's out these 3 days. It protects you from us saying, well, here's 3 days, here's 4 days, here's the good person in me, but this, I know, I'm not even gonna say it, yes. I was gonna say, because we're not that type of an employer, but then that's where the abuse does happen, and not that you or any of you are going to abuse it, but that's what gets us in trouble. So yes, for anything 3 days or more, notify us.
And then do you need like doctor scripts or any kind
No.
of proof as to like what's going on?
That's the question with the certification. I would say, at that point, no, we wouldn't ask for that. Now, let's say, and I'm not picking on you, but you're asking the question. Let's say Katie comes along a month later and it's like, oh, I need this again. And then it's another month later, I need this again. At that point, we may be like, we need a doctor's. We need this certified. That's where the certification comes in.
For the previous ones as well.
Probably not, just for the most current one, yeah.
Okay, I have a question. You said that when you do FMLA, you can use the PTO will be used all the way down to 24 hours.
Correct.
So now, PTO starts over in January, I'm assuming, or
Yep,
would those 24 hours roll over if I'm still on
yes,
FMLA?
yes,
You know?
yep,
Okay.
yeah. Anything would roll over just like it rolls over now, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then it would start over and you would have the initial PTO for the new year. You'd have to work that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, that's interesting. I guess I haven't even thought of that. No, yeah. You would. Yes,
Okay, so that's good to know.
yeah. Yeah, no, that is a good question. Yes, it would, yeah, you would have to, yep, work it down to 20.
Yeah.
depending on how long you're out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think it would be in writing, because those would be the situations where it'd be the end of the year going into the future, the next year, we would have that all written out.
I'm assuming it'd be
Yeah.
long-term, that was something.
Right, unless it's something that happened, an accident or something happened suddenly, but yeah, yep.
So you're saying that FMLA will roll over as well?
In a
Or you
12-month,
start- or
you have a
start
12-month
fresh
period,
every-
yeah.
Every January you start with another 12 weeks.
No,
So the
but
clock
be the
starts
year.
the first time you
Use it.
yes,
Right, so
yes,
say you use it in October, that's when yours would
Yeah.
start. And you-
But I'm saying, if you don't use,
You still have 12 weeks.
yeah, you have 12
right, but
weeks.
then the 12. but
No,
it's-
those don't roll over. Those don't roll over, you'll still have 12 weeks. It's not like you'll go
it's
to
just
24
12
weeks.
Every year.
Every year, yeah. From the point when you start to use it to,
So if you use 1 month and then a year has gone by, it starts over at 12 months again.
Correct.
So, okay.
12 weeks. Well, or 12 months, yeah, 12 weeks and 12 months, yeah.
All right, I guess I got another question.
Okay,
I don't, this has only happened because in the past that we weren't able to go, but someone in Michigan on my husband's side had passed away, and we would have needed to have been there for a week, because for whatever reason, his nationality, they really stretch out the situation. Would that be considered FMLA? I mean, not so much for me.
No,
but
no,
it-
no,
No, it
because
wouldn't.
you're not taking care of anybody, it's not a serious injury,
Okay.
illness that you need to cover. Anything else? The one thing that I passed out, some of you saw, to supervisors is just a caution, or for any of us, is not always FMLA, so just, you might say that, you might think it, but just, if you go to your supervisor, just cautioning supervisors, don't be like, oh, this could be FMLA, because it may not be. So just, sometimes when you say those words, employees might take it very seriously, and then it's like, well, they told me it was FMLA, and now you're not, so just, HR will make it up, but yeah, definitely go to your supervisors, let them know as soon as if you know something's coming up, so we can get the paperwork started as soon as possible, and everything's clean. But things happen, we get that, if you're in an accident, God forbid, or anything, just, as soon as we know, we'll get the paperwork out to you and start working.
But it has to be 3 days or more.
Mhm.
So if you were out with, like Katie said, if you were out with the flu for 2 days, FMLA does not
No.
fall into place.
No. Okay, there is mud. Thank you.